Okay, so like I explained in the last video, we're gonna get a little bit more tactical, a little bit more niche and specific in these videos moving forward. I'm still gonna do my general advice and kind of tips I have, but in this specific video, we're gonna be covering like the three main mistakes you're probably doing in your AI agency, especially if you're just starting out. This is coming from somebody who's recently gone from high ticket sales more into starting my own AI agency with a business partner. So these are kind of the mistakes that we've been seeing, not just for ourselves, but also for others in the space that we kind of learned from who've also said the same things. And you know what they say, like if you're smart, you just want to avoid other people's mistakes. And that's kind of what we try to do, but we still ended up doing a lot of the same mistakes most people told us to avoid. So I want to make sure I can actually reiterate this for you guys and make sure you avoid the same mistakes because now I've actually gone through them and I want to make sure you don't do the same mistakes. All right. So this is especially applicable if you're kind of just starting out. So here's the first mistake I would say, and that is that you have a lot of money, but you still end up doing a lot of cold outreach and just wasting time. And this was basically us because, like I said, I was in high ticket sales, making 10, 20, 30K a month, wanting to have my own business, switching over more into an agency, still service based, but more like our own equity, our own agency, our own company. So we're getting more of the profit rather than just being a sales rep getting a commission based pay, right? So with us doing that, we're obviously sitting at a lot of money, but we're just kind of wasting the whole first 2 to 3 weeks trying to set up everything. And once we got everything set up, we're doing cold outreach. And the thought process behind it, which probably most of you are thinking as well, is that ads are like a double-edged sword. Somebody's like scared to spend money, and you're probably going to waste a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing. So people are kind of scared to spend it, right? And we were not really scared to spend the money, but more so in the camp of being like, okay, we don't want to spend a bunch of money on ads on something that's not really proven. So why don't we just do a lot of cold outreach first, get a couple clients through that, see how things are, and then once we know what we're doing, we're going to spend ads on it because then we can just double down and we already know things are working, right? However, what ended up happening, because that is like a fair mindset to have going into something like this, but what ends up happening is that you're just wasting way more time because you're gonna have it's gonna take you a long time until you actually get a client. We didn't even get a client out of cold outreach, so we're just like wasting 3 4 weeks that we could have literally just ran ads on, spent a bit of money, but understood what would work earlier and sooner anyway. So it's like if you just have some money and some capital you can actually use to test, then why wouldn't you just use that money to actually test to see if what you're doing works? And then if it does work, great, you can just double down. And if it's not working, then obviously you to reiterate and spend money on what's actually working, right? So it kind of goes both ways. And that's what we ended up doing is like, okay, we're doing a bunch of cold outreach, we're not getting any clients. So why don't we just hire somebody to do the outreach for us? And then it's just like, but why would you spend money on hiring somebody to do outreach when you can literally just spend that money instead of hiring somebody? You can just use that money on ads and you'll have the clients actually come to you instead of you still paying to chase clients, and rather just spend the money on ads, have them chase you, see how things go. And if obviously like they come to you, you have more leverage and it's easier to even close, right? Not saying it's going to be bulletproof, super easy or whatever, but in our specific case, like I'm coming from sales. So sales is maybe the number one skill set. We'll talk a little bit about that later as well. But if you know the sales part of it, closing the guys are going to be like the easy part, right? So even if somebody is not 100% bought in, if you know the sales aspect, you know ways of actually getting these guys to purchase by just finding out their pain points, etc. Right? So number one thing, like if you actually have the money to do so, spend the money on ads from the get go instead of wasting a bunch of time on cold outreach. Now, obviously, if you don't have the money, do the cold outreach because eventually you're going to get a client off of it, whether that be cold calling, messaging, or whatever, right? So you have to spend time on it if you don't have the money, but genuinely, like if you actually have the money to spend, why wouldn't you just test and see what works way, way sooner? So instead of, in my opinion, though, like I know this is kind of counterproductive compared to, or counterintuitive compared to the advice everybody out there is saying, but it's like instead of wasting those 4 weeks to get a client, right? I'd rather you just like do some fucking job or just like DoorDash or do whatever for 4 weeks and get enough money to actually run the ads to test, right? Because like if you're just spending 4 weeks to trying to get a client and then you eventually get a client and he pays you 500 bucks or whatever because it's your first client, you have no idea what you're doing. So it's like now you're just like, and now you have 500 bucks to spend on ads, right? So it's like, why wouldn't you just like work for 3 to 4 weeks, gain way more money, and just like use that to test and run the ads? That's just in my opinion. That's like pretty much what we're doing right now. Why like we're not going to waste any more time doing cold outreach. We'd rather just like actually spend the money on ads to see what's working and then double down on what's actually working. It's pretty much almost like e-commerce, right? The good thing with this though is it's already like a proven product, but it's not a product, it's actually a service, right? So there's no point for us to really test too much when it comes to the ads. It's more so just about testing what creatives actually work instead of like testing a bunch of different products if you're doing e-commerce, right? So that's why I really recommend doing this. And you shouldn't be scared to run ads either, because if you're confident that the ads are going to make money, then you should have a positive ROI, which then means that even though you're spending money on ads, you're making more in return. So why would you ever be scared of spending money on ads when it's just going to make you more money anyway? So you just gotta kind of commit to it. So that's gonna be the first mistake and my first tip that you can really change, especially if you're starting out and you have the capital to do so. And just to add on to that, like I don't really think you should start an AI agency unless you have some sort of capital. Like it's not really the best business if you have like zero money up front, right? So I highly recommend to have at least like 1,000 to 2,000 bucks or even 3,000 just like set aside that you can confidently use, excuse me, into this business model. So that's going to be the first thing. Second thing is going to be worrying too much about AI instead of actual results. So what I mean by this is that most people don't even start an AI agency because they think they need to know everything about AI. They think they need to know everything about these complicated workflows and stuff like that. And that's just not true. Number one thing when it comes to agency as a whole, would that be AI, SMA, whatever, it's just like actually getting results and getting the sales, right? Like getting results is going to be the number one priority for you rather than just worrying too much about AI, right? Because you're going to learn as you go and it's probably going to hold you back from even starting or doing it properly anyway. Because what you should be focusing on is going to be the marketing side and also the sales side of it, right? Because that's what's going to move the needle forward. AI is an easy thing to just like outsource to somebody that's actually super tech heavy. You can outsource commission based guys in India, whatever, if you have no idea how to even run any AI things, right? So I'm kind of lucky my business partner is super tech savvy, super AI guy, while I'm more of a sales and marketing guy, right? So we kind of fit together. But if you're worrying too much about AI, you're already holding yourself back before you even started. What you should do is actually get somebody to do the AI things for you while you focus on the sales and marketing, because those are the guys that actually make the money, right? So if you pay a developer like 20% off of every sale, then you're the one that's left with 80% of the money. So if you're sitting there just worrying too much about AI instead of actually worrying about sales, marketing, getting results for clients, then you've already lost before you've even started. That's kind of my whole point, is that I see a lot of people just worry too much about, oh, this automation, that automation, uh, ChatGPT this, Zapier that, Claude, whatever, right? It's just like, dude, nobody really cares because the businesses you're helping, they don't care about AI. Like genuinely, nobody really cares about what you're implementing, what you're doing, etc. What they care about is actually making more money. You're in business to make more money. whether that be with AI or would that be with something completely else. The same way a local business, like you're in this business to make money, that's the same way these local businesses are in to make money, right? So they don't care if you implement this chatbot or if you do that. It's just like, dude, what they care about is at the end of the month, they want to see that they've made more money than the last month. That's what really matters. And that's why you need to focus on results rather than just like focusing on AI, right? That's super, super important because, right, like most people think that AI is like the new hot thing, and it is. But businesses don't really care about what AI you implement. Like they don't even know anything about AI to begin with. So when you say Claude, chatbot, whatever, they're just gonna look at you like, what the fuck is this dude even talking about, right? You think you sound smart, but they're just like, dude, is this gonna make me more money? Is this gonna get me more leads? That's what matters. If yes, awesome, prove it. If not, then what the fuck? We don't want to do business with you, right? It's just plain and simple. You have to get these guys results and make them more money because that's what businesses care about at the end of the day. Businesses are not here to lose money. They're here to make money in the short term and long term. So have that as your focus. That's going to be the second thing. Third thing is going to be to worry too much about client fulfillment before you even gotten a client, right? So we see this all the time. We were doing this as well, trying to set up all these automations, trying to set up all these things before somebody's even onboarded. And it's like, bro, we haven't even gotten a client. We've spent 4 weeks trying to cold outreach and not even gotten anybody, but we're more so just like setting up things for fulfillment, setting things up for clients when they onboard. It's like, bro, we haven't even onboarded anybody. What are we doing? Right. So, number one thing is like, don't worry about that. And I know that also seems like it's counterintuitive, but you're not going to know until you actually get your first 3 to 5 clients on what you're supposed to do, because you can set everything up and then maybe everything you've set up is just like completely whack, out of order, not working, not how it's supposed to be. And you don't know that until you've actually gotten a client, right? So why wouldn't you just like actually focus on getting the client first? Once you've gotten in, then we do a 24, 48-hour sprint on fixing everything you need to actually onboard that client properly. And once you do so, you put some urgency on yourself, but you can also reiterate and see what actually works, right? Because now you've gotten a client, you've gotten 3 to 5 clients, and they're going to give you feedback. Like if they don't like something, they're going to let you know. And now you know this, and like to the next time you're going to get, so you can actually change things and kind of learn as you go again with client fulfillment, because you're going to get feedback from them. That's just how it is. Like if you're setting up some kind of set up ads for them or whatever, and they don't like the way you're setting it up, or they don't like the way you're logging into their Facebook or something like that, they're going to let you know. They're going to be like, "Ah, I'm not sure about this. What about this, etc., etc." So you can kind of take that feedback into you. And now you know, okay, this is what we need to change when we onboard our next client, or this is what we need to change when we're doing this, etc., etc. So keep these things in mind once you get the client. Don't keep these things in mind before you've gotten it. Of course, it's cool to kind of set a couple of things up and whatever, but don't worry about it too much until you've actually gotten that client, because then you're just doing all these minuscule tasks. You're sitting with a bunch of BS that is not even going to move the needle forward because you don't even have a client. At the end of the day, what you should focus on is actually getting clients for your agency, having people come in, and then focus on the fulfillment, right? Obviously, like the fulfillment has to be good. You have to get them results, etc., etc. But you're not going to know this until you actually have them. So stop focusing on all these fulfillment things before you've even gotten the client. And same thing, this doesn't just go for fulfillment, but it goes for things like a website. Like fuck your website if nobody's going to even go to your website, if you're just going to push people to a funnel anyway. So it's like, why are you wasting time on a website? Why are you wasting time on a bunch of BS that isn't really going to do anything for your agency until you actually got that client? That's what really matters. I hope this helps. 3 main mistakes, make sure you avoid them, especially if you're starting out. If you need any other help, just let me know in the comments. I'll make a video on it. And yeah, catch you guys next time. Take care.